Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Jay Bailey here, and I'm back with yet another video. And I think this one's going to be a little bit more interesting because I know the last one was like kind of really basic, but I think this one's going to be fun. I like this one a lot. This is from the website Hack the Box, and if you want to follow along, binary, all that stuff, password in the description below. So check that out. Also, if you want this VM as well, check that out and check out the description. So let's go ahead and get started. I created a notes.txt file already, as I usually do in my videos, and I pretty much what I did was I copied the description that the author gives in the description box of the actual challenge, and then I pasted it into here. And this is going to be where I keep all my notes. Go ahead and make this bigger because bigger is better, right? Giggity. And so all we're gonna have stuff in here is I'm gonna keep anything I'll find out about the binary is gonna be put into this notes.txt file. But really quickly about the binary, about our challenge, our job here, we are given a program that generates product keys, and the input is a username and a number of days. And it spits out a product key that'll be something like this, right? If I just highlight this guy. And so our job here is just to find the corresponding username and number of activation days that will give us this product key as our output. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I do is I'm gonna go ahead and open up PE Bear here. PE, click. Alrighty, file load. The art of versing. Alright, so let's look at the file header, and we see here that this is our Intel 386, so this is a 32-bit executable. It is actually executable indeed, which is nice. And let's see. You see down here that the .NET header is populated, so this is going to be another .NET executable, which I like that. Hopefully there's no obfuscation. And so let's look at the imports, and similarly to the last video, right, we have this MS Core DLL and then this Core EXE main are the only two things that are being used by this function here, or by this binary. And so since that doesn't tell us anything about the binary and what things that we can look for in terms of our, guiding our analysis, we're going to go ahead and run strings on here. And let's get to our folder, ht, what is this one called? The art. Oh, there we go. And strings, right? And then we're going to strings, art.text. All right, notepad, ++, and then strings. All right. So now we're just gonna go ahead and run through this and see if we can find something interesting. So, I mean, I see some things that might be something like this Tor, like they top FC, top div FC. It seems like something that the programmer would actually put in there, but that's not giving me anything in terms of what it's doing. So while there may be interesting functions to look at, I don't really know, it's not giving me, so okay, that's not like this is a get username type of, like we don't know what it's doing there. So let's just go ahead and keep it pushing. Let's see. Can we see this B continues? Okay, that's interesting. Let's see, what else do we have? Again, end to stop. That may be something that's gonna stop something from happening. So that's useful. NPR. I don't listen to that radio show, but okay. That was a bad joke. Get per number. Let's see. Encounter two. Okay, the two lower. I guess they're doing something with that. Let's see, is there anything else? Come on, give me something. Okay, so create product key. So obviously we're gonna want to look at this one, right? Because our job is to figure out how they're creating the product key so we can reverse engineer and create their similar product key. So this is what we're gonna want to look at. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go here. Interesting functions button, create product key. All right, and then so here we see like this whole little this chunk here. So obviously the programmer was a little bit more stringent upon what input we can get the program, right? Because in the last video, if you remember, we keep giving no username and give it the password of Papa NyQuil, and we can pass the challenge like that. This what they're saying, no, you can't do that. You have to actually give us something, a username and password. One of those, both of those things are required. And then it says it has to be, the username has to be greater than 2 characters. Activation days has to be between this range, and they also see they're checking to see if we actually give it numbers in general at all, right? So if we don't give it any numbers, they're gonna say, hey, no, you can't do that. So let's see what else we got here. We have here. Let's see. All right, now we're looking into some nonsense. I'm going to just scroll down. Come on, let me scroll, buddy. What was that? Ah, nothing. All right, yeah. So I think we got a pretty good handle on this. At least we know that the what's that thing called? The, dang it. That the button create product key is something we're gonna want to look at. So at least we know where that we would want to look first, at the very least. All right, come on, maximize. Let's go ahead and open up. All right, and so I'm going to not do that. I'm going to put the notes and our dnspy side by side. Let me take some notes here. So let's go ahead and go to this guy, and program is just gonna, yep, just sets up the main function as we would expect. And let's go ahead and go to form 1, initialize component. And let's see. So yeah, they're just setting up the text boxes for the username and the password. And here's what we want to look at right here, right? This button create product key. So let's just go ahead and go there right away. And you see this is where they're doing that check to see if we give it a username or password, or username or number of days. And so, and then we assign username to this text variable, and then num days will be this num variable. But those names aren't very useful to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and rename them. So I'm gonna right click, and then I'm gonna go to edit IL instructions, and then I'm gonna go to local yokels, and then I'm gonna just put this over here. And so the way you have to do this, you have to kind of line up the local variables with the variables here, right? So index 0, you see this is a string. This is a string, so the index 0 is going to map to that text variable, so I'm going to rename that to username. And similarly here, num is going to be our int32, right? So I'm going to go ahead and rename this to num days. All right, and so then we have some int to stop, end counter, and b continue, end to stop 0, end counter is 0, and b continue is true. Then ss out, they're going to set that to some empty string. And so here they're just doing more checks on our username and password that we give it. This text product key is also going to be empty, so text box. So I believe this part was going to hold the product key at the end, obviously, right? Or maybe not, who knows? And so then we call this npr function, and we give it our username length as their input twice. So npr is going to be len username. All right, and so we're going to go ahead and go here. And then we see it just calls this fcdv function. So we saw this earlier, but we didn't know what it did. So now we can find out what it does. So it accepts n and n minus r as our input. So essentially it'll be So I'm just gonna go like that. fcdv is going to be our len username and then 0. Oops. Because you know n minus r are n and r are the same thing, so it's gonna be 0. So we go here, and this here, it looks like it's just doing a factorial, right? So we see that it sets I equals to the length of the username. As long as it's greater than 0, it's going to subtract 1 from I, and then this is going to do, you know, 1 times, you know, it'll be the length of the username, and then, you know, keep going and keep going. It's a factorial. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and just go back here, and so this is going to return into there the length of the username factorial. So I'm going to go ahead and rename that guy. Edit IL instructions. Go to locals, and then, oops, go over here. And then, what is this called? Username length th factorial. And then this end to stop here. So now they change it. So now it's going to be end to stop is username length fac ngth divided by 2. And then let's see, what does it do? So word here is going to be our username, but as an array. So let's just go ahead and just change that to username as array. And then it gets called in this get per function here. So let's go ahead and see what that's doing. And so we set m, which is going to be our length of the username minus 1, and then get per, we call this with our username, and 0, and then m, which is length of the username minus 1. And so this here is going to be a recursive function, as you can see, right? And so first we check if vContinue is false, and in this case it's not, because it's initially true and we didn't change it at all yet. So that's going to not run. And then we're going to do k, if k equals to m, we'll add 1 to the counter, right? And then we're going to check and see if the counter is equal to this num to stop. And if so, that's how we know that we finished the entire recursive function, and it's going to exit. All right, and so then we're going to say else, we're going to run this loop here. And so we're going to see, well, let's see, look at this do function here. And it's going to check and see if a is equal to b, and if it is, it just returns. If they aren't equal, then you see we're going to a XOR equals b, b XOR equals a, and then a XOR equals b. So all that's doing here really is it's going to swap the characters, right? So if a is equal to j and b is equal to a, at the end of this function, b is going to be j, and a is going to be a. All right, so that's all it's doing, and it's going to continue to do that until eventually, like I said, this dang it, didn't want to do that, until this counter variable is equal to this end to stop variable. And we see that we assign it to this ss out, and if you notice here, this word here is being passed to that do function by reference. And what does that mean? It means that if things gets changed in this function, it's also going to get changed here, right? So that's how when we look at this ss out here is going to actually be equal to it's going to just pretty much mangle up mangled username. And also something to note, that the username is not, they're not taking out any letters, they're not adding any letters, they're not adding any characters, they're not substituting, they're simply just mangling up the username. And so since we know that, all we have to do is just go here, hack, or oops, I kind of told on myself. If we copy that and paste it here, and if we try to unjumble it, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys have done exercises like this in the past. If we try to unmangle this, it's going to come out to be hack the planet. Not with the 3, but the planet, like that. So nice, I like that, you know. So let's go ahead and go back. All right, so now we're back. And so ss out should be equal to, you know, this guy here. So I'm going to see, gonna be that. And let's see, next thing we do is we call this Tor function on num days. Let's see what this is doing here. So it takes in our number and it does a number of checks here. And if you notice here, I believe these are the Roman numerals. So M should be Roman numeral for 1000, CM for 900, and so on and so forth. And so all it's doing here is going to pretty much create a Roman numeral version of our number, right? So if we gave it 2000 as our input, as our number activation days, it's going to return MM. All right, so it's going to first go to M here because 2000 is greater than or equal to this, so it's going to return M, and then you see it's going to call it again, but this time with 2000 minus 1000, so that's going to be 1000. So it's going to come here, and that's again greater than or equal to 1000, yes, so MM, and then it's going to call it again. This time it's going to be 0, so it's going to return an empty string. And so that's all it's doing. It's going to pretty much create a Roman numeral version of our string, of our number of days, and it returns it into this text variable here. So I'm going to go ahead and again rename that edit il instrucciones, and then this is going to be Roman numerals. All right, and so then you see it calls Roman numeral, or it calls this Tor function with Roman numerals as the argument here. So let's go ahead and see what that function is doing. So it takes in our string and it turns it into an array, right? So again, if we're going with our 2000, right, it's going to be MM, and then it's just going to reverse it, right? So but MM reverses is going to be MM, so that's not too interesting. And then you see here it's going to add 1 to each of the indexes here. So it's going to essentially going to be n at the end of it, and then you see here they return the lowercase version of it, so it's going to return nn. And so now that we know what it's doing, it's a little bit, it should be simple to kind of reverse engineer what this here is. So all we have to do is, you know, paste this there, and then we just have to go backwards and see what the actual Roman numeral letters were, and then we can use this to sort of translate and add things up together and see what the number of activation days was. So we have W, and so W minus 1 will be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. All right, so that's V. And yes, yes, you did hear me recite the alphabet. I can't just, I can't do W minus 1 to just get V. All right, don't judge me. And so Y, X, right? And then I know this is going to be L, and then CCC. All right, and so now all we have to do here is let's just add these numbers up. So V is 5 plus X is 10 plus L is 50, and then C is 100. And so I'm gonna, since there's 3 C's, I'm gonna say 300. So we add that all up and we get 365. And so our username and number of activation days should be HackThePlanet365, because that's what we do. We hacking a planet all day, every day. So let's go ahead and put that to the test here. So we're gonna go ahead and run this guy. Hack the planet 365. Create product key. This is gonna take a long time, so I'll be back in about a minute or so. Y'all, when I say this took a long time, I wasn't playing. This took, well, about a minute or so, but still. Anyways, as you can see here, it appears to be that we've gotten the correct username and password, because we go there and look at that, exactly the same. So that's pretty much it for this challenge, everybody. So if you let me go ahead and give a quick little recap here. We were able to solve this by we analyzed this create product key click button, and we saw that they are creating these variables here as our kind of like a loop control variable, but it's more like a recursive stopper. I don't know what the technical term is, but it stops the recursive function from executing. And excuse that nonsense in the background. And then we saw that NPR function is going to pretty much jumble up our username, right? And it doesn't subtract anything. It doesn't. Oh, sorry, no, that not the NPR function. This get per function jumbles up our username, but this NPR function gets the factorial of our username length, right? And so it jumbles up our username a little bit, and then all we have to do is just sort of unmangle it to get the actual username. This Tor changes our, what is that, number of days and puts into Roman numerals, and then door puts our Roman numerals, reverses it, and then adds one character to it, so kind of, you know, makes it a little bit more difficult to see what the actual number was. And then it just, you know, spits it out, and then concatenates everything and puts it in the product key text box. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you enjoyed this video and you liked and you learned some new things, go ahead and give me a like. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions that maybe I didn't address, or something just went completely over your head, go ahead and leave a comment. Sorry. Go ahead and leave a comment below with any questions that you have, or any suggestions for tools that I should use. I'd love to hear any, you know, suggestions or questions. You know, hit me with your best shot. If you want to see more of this type of content, right? You like this video, you want to see more of this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you're notified when new videos go live. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.